It's what you think, but it's not. On Film Thread Reviews. I'm Alan Ng. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and today we review Georgetown. Be sure to hit that like button. Let us know that you support Film Threat and our efforts to support independent films. All right. Georgetown is the story of Ulrich Mott, an ambitious social climber who marries a wealthy widow in Washington, D.C. in order to mix with the powerful political players of the time. It's directed by Christoph Waltz. Stars Christoph Waltz, Vanessa Redgrave, and Annette. This is we had a little discussion about this movie beforehand because, it's one of these. There's a lot of spoilers, but at the same time, we're kind of able to figure out the real story fairly easy or right off the bat. I liken this movie to an onion, where it's told in fragments, flash forwards, flashbacks. This timeline's kind of out of whack, but done in a really good way. And I describe it as an onion being peeled back layer by layer. And so, we're going to have an interesting discussion about this. What did you think of Georgetown?
Well, first of all, this is the feature directorial debut of Christoph Waltz. And Christoph has, ever since coming to American audiences in Inglourious Basterds, he's kind of mastered that those types of characters that are at once sinister, but there's something kind of comedic, charismatic about them. And he's really made his mark on playing those types of characters. So this is a variation on that type of persona that he has cultivated on the screen. So
yeah, I mean, I'll mention, I kept thinking about Big Eyes when I saw this movie.
Okay.
It's a very similar character, and like you said, he's sort of mastered it, and he's kind of, I wouldn't say grown comfortable with this persona, but he's very good at it.
He is very good at it. So personally, I'm a fan of Christoph Waltz, and so what drew me to this movie is seeing him. And from that standpoint, I can say I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. There were other reasons to enjoy it and other issues to maybe not enjoy it so much, but just right off the bat, if you're a fan of his or his character, you will enjoy this movie. It's very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I like the unfolding aspect of it, and then there's not to get into spoiler territories, but there's something off about the character, which I think once you see Christoph Waltz, you automatically assume there's something wrong with the character, and so he's basically a guy who marries an older woman who's kind of has her foot in the political realm, and he's trying to basically become like a diplomat in a way. And that woman is played by Vanessa Redgrave, and her daughter is Annette, and she dies at the beginning of the movie, and the movie's kind of a investigation of that. And we find out that it's murder, and guess who the main suspect of the murder is? But the thing I want to mention is, I was thrown off for a while because Vanessa Redgrave, she plays her character, I think, within a 15-year span, and in that 15-year span, she ages 15 years from an older woman to a 91-year-old woman, and that threw me off because when they went back in time to her younger self, her how she looks today. I thought that was a second timeline, and I got a little confused until I realized, no, this is not him being this serial marrier and killer of old women. This is the same woman, and he was married to her for I think a decade and a half. I don't know. Were you as confused as I was?
I was not. For whatever reason, I wasn't. But I know that there are others like us who you were not the only one that was a little bit confused because it's not told in a linear timeline. But I do have to say, Vanessa Redgrave is so brilliant in this movie. In real life, she is in her 80s. And the age difference between these two is She is unnaturally old for his age. I mean, it's definitely May, December, and borderline on inappropriate. So you can only imagine her daughter, played by Annette Bening, completely, disapproves of it and completely understands that her mother is being taken advantage of.
And I should say they de-aged her in this movie as well.
But Vanessa Redgrave is at once, a Washington powerhouse who also is mourning the loss of her first husband and wants the love and companionship of Christoph Waltz's character. She encourages him, becomes kind of motherly towards him, but they have their own dynamics where they have fights, and she lets them know that it's her house and he can't smoke in it and he's not allowed to do these things. They openly sleep in 2 separate bedrooms. And
you mentioned, he is kind of a grifter in this, and it should be noted that she kind of created the grifter in him as well.
Yes, exactly. So the dynamic between the two of them is very interesting. And so the cast that Christoph Waltz assembled for this is incredible, because watching Vanessa Redgrave, you're just in awe at how she still has it at her age and shows no signs of slowing down. And we fully expect her to carry on delivering magnificent performances for at least another 10 years, hopefully. But really the center here is Christoph Waltz's character. We don't really know his past. We don't know what brought him to Washington specifically. We don't even know what his goals are. What does he want? Does he want to be a policymaker? Does he want to be an important, well-liked person? Does he want to scam people? Like, is he there simply to scan and con, or does he want to put a perception of himself and earn some type of respect? That part is never explained.
Yeah. I was going to say that I kept going back to the documentary We Work.
Okay.
A guy, I don't know that he's trying to be a con man. I think there's this fine line he draws between, the overconfidence in titles he gives himself versus, actually trying to be malicious in some way. He in a way starts to believe his own bullshit, for that matter.
Yes, he has these delusions of grandeur. Before he goes out in public to these functions, he puts on very specific clothing to convey a very specific image of status or rank and things like that. So he kind of gets more and more delusional in his capabilities, or even his own stories. I mean, he goes to great lengths to mastermind these things that he's so convincing. But the film is interspersed with the overall murder trial of his wife, and of course him being the main suspect, and even the 2 attorneys that he's assigned. They can't even discern what's real and what isn't. And just like us, they have moments where they're just like, this story is absurd. Like, is this guy delusional? They're kind of laughing, but they're also very frustrated. And it's kind of how we feel too, because there's so much absurdness, yet the character.
But there's a plausibility to the absurdness.
Well, and that goes to the types of characters that Christoph Waltz plays. Yeah. So convinced of this that you either join them or you're against them.
We'll go back to the WeWork documentary. The subject Adam there, he to me, it was just amazing the level in which his deception reached, to where the level of people that he fooled, and the exact same thing happens in this one. When you find out just the people who were buying into and intrigued and engaged with his story, the level that it went to in politics is amazing to me and scary to me at the same time.
Well, here's the thing. Although the movie doesn't offer a lot of insight into Christoph Waltz's character, which is something I would have liked. To be honest, I would have liked to have seen more of that to better understand the character. I would have liked to have seen a more sinister side, because it's based on a true story. And the guy is in prison for 50 years. That was his sentence in the end. So it's based on a true story. Would have liked it to have been more sinister and hit from a more personal standpoint. However, what it does shine a light on and seems to capture, I've never lived in Washington, but it seems to capture that whole Washington social circle of people wanting to be in these positions, how people will go to any party if they think important people are going to be there, that they're willing to listen to stories and with rapt attention just because there are other people in the room doing the same, and nobody really wants to question anyone. Everyone's afraid to really not be in the know or not be in the inner circle, that they're not going to say, wait, who are you again? Yeah. So I thought that it did a really interesting, it shined a great light on how the political system there works.
Well, you mentioned sinister, and I want to go back to that. I like the fact that he's not played as sinister because one, it buys into the ending, and two, though, it is this weird character because we want this guy to be a bad guy, but is he a bad guy? And I think that's kind of the point of the movie, is to kind of shift that. Shift the balance between insanity and being maniacal or being insane.
Well, I mean, there are moments where I'm just like, God, this guy's a loser. Like, he's really,
I know that's
pathetic.
That's what I do.
Sorry for him.
That was to me, that the patheticness of his character was so germane to this entire story, and especially the ending. And I will say this: as much as you know what's going to happen, there's a lot you don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of things that does catch you by surprise, and in a way, or caught me by surprise. And in a way, it just really took this story and twisted it and put it on its head to where, this is not your typical story, even though it plays out exactly how you think it is playing out.
It's told in these chapters, and each chapter has a title that kind of gives you an insight into at least what the character wants to be or is possibly,
or feels like he is
that he is in that particular chapter, which is also very interesting. I mean, it is a very interesting story. And then you got to wonder, his wife, I mean, yes, she had a part in creating him and encouraging him in that. Yet at the same time, as she was proud of him in a motherly way, he wasn't returning the favor back. I mean, he was getting caught doing other things.
I mean, honestly, we could go on forever about this. And I think that's the appreciation I have for this movie is it's like, watch it and then let's talk about it. Because you could go on forever just talking about this character, and so that perplexes me in terms of what score you gave it. It's like I think you liked it, but I think I don't know. I sense an emotional internal struggle with what level you did like it. So I'm gonna guess you kind of gave it. I'm gonna guess you gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7.5 because I enjoyed the movie. Like I wanted to give it an 8 because it is enjoyable. I do recommend it. I am a fan of Christoph Waltz, but I just felt like maybe I guess I wanted a little bit more out of him and his motivations. Yeah. He wasn't three-dimensional enough for me. He was, the con, the grifter on the surface, and he remained that. But like you said, more onions peeled back. But it's not that we peeled back to find out who this, or person was. The Onion is just con after con after con. You that part didn't bother you. You did not necessarily need a little more explanation in that part. I think you fully enjoyed it, even more so perhaps than I did. Definitely, I think it's a repeat viewing for you. You'd probably watch it again. I think you gave it an 8.
Yeah, I did give it an 8. The idea of the movie, the basic idea of the movie is fairly straightforward. I've seen it a million times, but I do like the twists and turns, the questions it raises. It's not straightforward. I didn't feel like he was a guy who wanted to marry an old woman, kill her, and take all her money. I think it was much more innocent and a lot more nuanced than that. And
I don't think it was innocent, though. I think he was. I think there was he definitely.
Well, I don't think his intention was to kill her and take her money, which is typically how these stories go.
Yes.
Because he did live with her for 15 or married to her for 15 years, which
I think
he's very slow about it if that was his intention. I appreciated the keeping me on my toes, and for that I gave it an 8. Okay, so with that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. Please check out this movie. Let's talk about it. Let's see what you thought. And with that, let's get out of here.